Hi, it's Leanne Riley. And one of the biggest questions I have people ask is, how do I know when the deal is right for me? Well, there's probably about 20, 30 things that you should factor in. But I'm going to go over the top 5 things that you need to know before you start trying to build a real estate income portfolio. So the first thing is cash flow. The strategy that most people are trying to get to, even though they may start with something else like fix and flip, really the strategy that puts the passive income in your pocket is buy and hold. And the whole point of buy and hold is to have cash flow. And what that is, that's the money left over after you collect the rent, after you pay all of the expenses, including the taxes and the insurance, everything, utilities you might have to pay, whatever, that bottom line, what's left over, that is your cash flow. And obviously, if it's more than your expenses, then that's where you get passive income. And you know, to tell you the truth, the average that I see is anywhere between $300 and $500 a month, somewhere in there. Obviously, if you pay, let me go back, $300 to $500 a month in cash flow that can come off of a property that you financed. Obviously, if you paid cash, the cash flow is bigger. But that's not always the answer. That isn't using leverage or the velocity of money. So anyway, we're aiming for cash flow, money in our pocket after it's all said and done, right? So in order to get cash flow, one of the things you need to know is, how do you figure out the formula? And that I cover in the Proven Profit Formula. The second thing is appreciation. Okay, what's that? Well, I would never suggest you buy a property based on appreciation, but you need to still figure out the location, and is that in an appreciating area? Well, how do you know? I want to give you an example. About, I think it was 7 years ago, I helped my nephew buy a house in an area that he just wanted, a single family house. We got it on a short sale, so it wasn't that expensive and it didn't need a lot of repair. It only needed what he could do. And it had room for a roommate. That was his goal. And we found one in a suburb of Minneapolis called St. Louis Park. And this house was unique because it was surrounded by a commercial office building on one side, the house with a really big yard and a lot of trees, so you really weren't looking at it. And then next door on the other side, over past some bushes, was a multifamily apartment building. And what's cool about that, what I knew as an investment property realtor, is that was an area that I knew would be expanding. That's close to downtown, it's a first-tier suburb, and appreciation-wise, someday a developer would want that piece of property because it was zoned residential, but it was in a commercial zone. So we bought that piece of property, I think paid $120 or something like that. And he lived in it, had a great time, lived there 7 years. And just this, about 6 months ago, a developer came knocking. And so he called me right away. I knew it would happen. And sure enough, someone new had bought an adjoining lot, the one behind him. And that was a smart developer because he knew that if he acquired that lot, he could build an apartment building. So that's adding value. Well, what a great thing for my nephew, right? He now had someone who wanted to buy his house and someone who needed it to add some more value and make a lot of money, right? So I went in and negotiated, and the good news is we were able to sell that house and he made $300,000. How about that? That's from buying a piece of property in an appreciating area. Now that's not an everyday thing, just so you know, but hey, it can happen. It happened to my nephew, and boy, was that a good day for me, because what a great thing when I can help family, right? He's set for life. We went and bought him a nice new house that he just really loves. What a cool thing. So definitely you want to buy in appreciating areas, and you maybe don't even know what to look for, and that's another thing I'll teach you in the Proven Profit Formula coaching program. What's the third thing to know if the deal is right for you? It's actually location. Boy, you've heard that. Location, location, location. That's what real estate's all about. And there's a lot of reason they say that. What I'll say about that today is you want to really be careful and make sure you're not buying a piece of property that's an anomaly. And this applies to the fix and flipper too. It might really be a nice house and the numbers might really work for fixing it, but you have to look at that value when you're all done fixing it, and that location. Is it in the right school district? What I call an anomaly is if there's railroad tracks right behind it, or if there's power lines in the yard, or maybe there's a freeway that you can hear the noise because it's just across the street. Things like that, those are anomalies, and it's harder to sell. Now, not to say that you can't sell that piece of property. You can, but you might get $20,000 less because of the location, or the location on the lot even sometimes can make a difference. What if the driveway goes straight up like that? That's going to make a difference. You have to watch for those things. And you need to be in a location that works for you. Here's what I want to say about that. Some people who start out real estate investing, you might only feel comfortable if you can drive by that house, or especially on the first one. A lot of people they're afraid to invest in another city. Now, if you live in, say, California or New York City, you can't afford to invest in, like, buy a duplex or something. It's never going to cash flow. So those kind of people, they might buy in a different market, say Houston or Memphis, or, there's certain markets where the numbers work really great. Another one is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The numbers work good. You can buy a house for a really reasonable amount, get a tenant in there, and cash flow that thing. And you can do that through people called turnkey investors. So I'll put that in the location category, because that might be something to consider too. You live in California and you really can't afford to invest in their prices, then you're going to have to look somewhere else. And that's an entire different strategy, and that has its own, what shall I say, its own 10 or 15 things you better be doing right, or you may not do well on a turnkey property. In fact, I've coached investors who they bought a piece of property off the listing sheet, they never went there, they didn't know what to look for, and they got themselves a turkey. So I don't want that to happen to you. The fourth thing about, is the deal right for you? Would be management. And what I'm talking about here is who's going to properly manage your new rental. Is it you? That's fine. There's a way to do that. And I managed 100 units in the inner city of Minneapolis, and they were all Section 8 rentals. That's government subsidized housing. So it can be done. That was just one person managing all of them. Obviously, I had a system, a really good system. And I didn't do it all by myself. I had the handyman who did all the showings. I had a team of people who helped me, let's put it that way. But I still was the manager of all those units. Now, a lot of people who start out, they're a little nervous about management, right? They don't know how. They've never managed a property before or a tenant. What's the papers you fill out? There's so many questions. I help you with that. I teach you 2 ways. If you're going to manage it yourself, then you need to do these 10 items. If you're going to hire a property manager, that's great, but you need to know how to interview that property manager, and you better ask and know how they handle these 10 areas. So you got to have the right property manager, and remember those turnkey rentals in the other city, that's a key part too. So the management, how are you going to manage not only the property, manage your business. You know, real estate investing is a side business. Some people, they manage that really well, and other people struggle with that. So you have to figure that out right away too, because the deal's only right for you if you're comfortable with that or hiring the right people to handle it for you. You can always get a bookkeeper, all those things. You don't have to do this hands-on. There's ways to have other people do it for you. And then the last item for is that deal right for you is your system. You don't want to run around like a chicken with your head cut off, right? You want to be able to handle this without getting midnight phone calls about a leaky toilet, or just with the system, so this is easy. And that's the thing. You can get started in real estate investing. Lots of people do it without any help. And what I've noticed, like I was just had some students not too long ago, Connie and J.A., and they were in Texas, a suburb of Houston. And the thing about them, they owned maybe 5 or 6 rentals, but they were sort of at this stuck point of how do we grow? How do we get into duplexes and fourplexes? How do we, grow this? And, I worked with them on the proven profit formula, and what we got to do is a couple things. We optimized their properties so that they were making more money from the ones they already owned. How do you leverage those to get that next one? And we went out and found some that would work. And really, you know what real estate investing is about? It's about confidence. You have to have the knowledge in the right order so you have confidence in getting that next deal. Think about the market. Most places, and especially right now, I'm in 2020, right during COVID, really, the market's hot. But the thing is, the inventory is low, so that means when deals come around, you can't take weeks figuring it out. You have to know the numbers well enough to figure out, is it good or is it bad? And if I like it, I better be ready and go in. I got a whole nother video about that, being ready. So you need a system to be able to have rental property, and then a system to grow it, because the idea with passive income, well, they say if you get about 10 properties, you should be able to live off that per month. And that's when you start to be able to leave your job, which is, one of the big reasons a lot of people tell me why they want to become a real estate investor. So if you're thinking about it, get started and use these tools to help figure out, is the deal right for you? And I want to say, is the proven profit formula right for you? Because remember, you get me to help you through these deals, help you have the right education. See you next time.